Welcome everyone. This is our Winter Trends webinar. So we've got myself, Renee Lee Weggy, hosting here today with my fellow trendologists and ladies in lipstick today. That was not planned until very last minute, but I've got Jacqueline Marks and Claire Conahan, our fellow Data Central trendologists. So welcome everyone, and please hit that chat button. I'm going to start with that little announcement here. If you do end up seeing that you can chat to hosts and panelists or everyone, please make sure that you are set to chatting everyone because we love the chat feature of this and love the little community and little talks here. So please make sure you chat everyone. And I have a little thought starter question today. You can also let us know what you just ate recently, or if you've already had lunch, what you ate. But I was thinking about this question that sometimes I feel like there's little, small, very simple things that bring me way more joy than I thought that they would. So I'm interested to hear if anyone has little things that just perk up their day. And bonus if they are food or beverage related. For me, if I'm in a bad mood, I love to have some sushi. And of course, pink, everything brings me so much joy. So that's why I am always decked out in pink. But Claire and Jacqueline, do you guys have
I
any like
agree with
small
all of our
things?
chatting friends. I was thinking
Yeah.
when I saw this as the intro, my favorite is iced coffee on a hot day, like that first hot day or one of
Mm.
the best ones, nothing better. And then hot coffee. I feel like once I became a mom, I had a new appreciation for drinking your coffee while it's hot. I bought like a mug that keeps it hot and everything. So like
Mm.
those are two of mine for sure. Oh, and using every leftover in the fridge to like collect all the bits and bobs and then make an amazing meal from it. That's like the ultimate.
Ooh, that is like, it sounds very satisfying to do that, right? Little fridge clean out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cinnamon is probably my comfort thing. Like any food or beverage that has cinnamon in it. I do a lot of baking, and so I use a lot of cinnamon, and just like the smell of it can bring a lot of joy and comfort. I have all cinnamon candles, so I like to light those while I pet my cat on the couch in the morning and my son is getting ready. That definitely cinnamon brings me a lot of joy.
Cinnamon. Nice. As I mentioned, I love pink, so anything pink always just brings a smile to my face. And I also went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with AI photos. So I'll have a few just like quick, funny photos. I thought this was an interesting one that I love the pink and the cotton candy, but thought it was interesting that, it looks like little clouds on there. This is just a random photo that AI on Adobe Stock had brought me. This one made me laugh. Has anyone seen this one? It's probably not super surprising, but it's one of those AI fails that I thought was funny. Saw it on my Facebook, and it's kind of small, but in the little description there, it says, when AI goes wrong, they put in a little thing that wanted, a cheery server that has, a warm smile, quirky atmosphere. And of course, I cropped out the part that makes it very funny here. But if anyone can guess, of course, what is wrong with AI, a lot of times it is one of the very obvious things. And I think someone got it. Yes, hands and fingers. So here is the actual photo. Sorry to if anyone is eating right now. But I saw this and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a facepalm AI where this is not what we asked for at all. So some little giggles and fun there. This one, we actually have like an Adobe Stock, like funny Slack channel. And I think Claire, this was one
But
of
I love
yours,
this one
right?
and I wanted to use it for state of the menu, but I think I'm going to hold out for a pricing report just because I can't get over them.
Right? The sticker shock in the eyes and the every time I look at it though, does anyone else see Katie Holmes? Because I see like Katie Holmes in the face there. But yep, the AI eyes and the mouth there, definitely very shocked though. And I think I just have one more here. I wanted to pull the one that you did as well, Claire, on canned cocktails and how AI is not really getting that concept yet. So there was one that you had where I think like the the lemon or the lime was like on top of the can part of it. This one's kind of interesting because maybe we do need clear cans so that you can see what's in there. But I thought this was an interesting take on canned cocktails. So just diving into some actual webinar content here. Welcome again to our Winter Trends webinar. We're excited to talk to you about all things winter. And just as a reminder, this is our Simply Smarter webinar. We have it on the second Thursday of every month. That'll continue for next year as well. So our next one is coming up on December 12th, and we'll have our year-end review, which is crazy that we are already going into 2025. And some of the other topics that we have here, our State of the Menu webinar a few last month with Claire that was on that one. I think you're also doing the food service in Europe, right? That's coming up. So coming soon, catch Claire on that one. And we also have beverage webinars. So Future of Drink report, that big report that we've done on alcoholic beverage. Make sure to go to our website under webinar and make sure that you are staying in touch and staying tuned to all of these amazing webinars. And then just as a quick intro, some new content from Report Pro. Love this image here. If you're not familiar with Report Pro, that is our amazing insights library. So all of the content that, Jacqueline, Claire, all of us on the content team work on, it's all here for you in Report Pro, all of the latest data and insights on a variety of different topics. Jacqueline did this one not too long ago. I love all of the egg puns. So we explored some global breakfast options. So we had everything from Bing from China, which I make my own little cheat Bing a lot of times with a tortilla and some different eggs and ingredients like that. So this one is now in Report Pro talking about global breakfast. And then we also have restaurant technology. So a later keynote as well on everything technology, AI, robotics, loyalty programs, apps, and that sort of thing. So make sure you check these out. And without further ado, we're going to dive right into winter trends. So Jacqueline is going to take us through these melted little snowmen hot chocolates here.
So I'm a little biased. I love hot chocolate. It's one of my favorite things that I look forward to when winter rolls around again. So of course I had to represent that with this image. And I'm curious, with winter right around the corner, what you're looking forward to eating and drinking in that season. And I'd love if you could share in the chat, as well as you both, Renee and Claire.
Ooh, winter. I mean, I love soups, and even though, I'll have soup sometimes when it's hot outside and I want pho and it's, like 90 degrees, but there's something about that cozy soup when it's freezing outside. Sometimes you can, as Claire said, kind of clean out your fridge with all the different bits and bobs that you have in there and make a really hearty soup. So that's one of my favorites.
I love all things peppermint bark and so anything white chocolate, candy cane, and there's a lot to choose from. So that's my favorite part of winter. Exactly. Peppermint plus chocolate, anything. Exactly, Tiffany.
I'm seeing a lot of sugar cookies and cookies in general in the chat, and I'm totally on board with that. I do a lot of baking for the holidays, and I always make cookies for my husband's coworkers. And one of my favorite types is the peanut butter kind that you put like the Hershey Kits in the middle. And that's always a huge hit with my family.
That's a classic for sure.
So moving into the data, we can see that traveling for the holidays is not an uncommon occurrence. A lot of people do it, 31%. And in our full winter trends report, we even dive a little deeper and show how 44% of Gen Z is planning to travel for the winter holidays specifically. And that's statistically more than any other generation. In winter 2023, 943 new items, returning items, and LTOs were released in winter, and 21% of all launches that year were winter items and LTOs. In the full report, we also dive into how 67% of consumers associate the winter season with special flavors, dishes, beverages, and LTOs. And 62% of consumers are interested in purchasing LTOs in that season. And that reveals that this is a pretty big season for offering specials.
Absolutely.
And now we're going to have a poll I'd love for everybody to engage with. What month do you think had the most LTO and new menu item releases of winter 2023? So we have December, January, or February. Which one do you think had the most? Any guesses, Renee and Claire?
Since I used to write this annual report, I'm going to abstain.
Okay, I wondered if you would abstain, Claire, because I was like, she might actually know from her background.
Oh, it's let's see. We've got a strong leader of the poll question right now. So let's see,
We
I'll give it
do.
one more second.
But you're not going to guess, Renee? Do you already
No,
know?
it's I will reveal it. Let's
Okay.
and do you see share results? So, oh wow. So 51% that was a strong leader is December.
Yeah, strong leader is December, and then it seems like it's pretty close between January and February, but the actual answer is January. In that month, major chains released 353 LTOs and new menu items.
January. That's kind of what I was leaning towards, but um that is interesting that most people just ask December.
I think it's because a lot of the holiday releases that you would expect for December actually release in November.
Hmm.
And so then December is a little bit quieter, and then you have another big surge of LTOs and new items that are released in January with the new year.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
looking at our launches and ratings platform, we can discover top sweet and savory foods and flavors for each season. In winter, some of the top savory ones lean into seafood. We see lobster tail, fish sandwich, and pollock, and these are likely related to winter holidays and also could tie into Lent. On the sweet side, we see a lot of chocolate. We see double chocolate, chocolate syrup, and ganache. And we also see flavors and shapes that are related to Valentine's Day specifically, like heart or red velvet. Although red velvet and candy cane, those could also apply to Christmas time LTOs. And now we're going to look at a few examples of how chain operators are leveraging some of these sweet and savory foods and flavors that we just highlighted here in LTOs last winter and what they scored in Data Essentials launches and ratings platform. And we'll also see a few superstars. Here we have Steak and Shake's Oreo Red Velvet Shake, an item that has actually been returning to menus since 2017. It's described as a hand-spun milkshake made with Oreo cookies, red velvet cake, and whipped cream, and it earned a superstar rating in Data Essentials launches and ratings platform, with 54% of consumers saying they'd visit the chain just to get this item, and nearly a quarter saying they'd get it frequently. On this next slide, you're going to see Cracker Barrel brought dessert to breakfast with their blueberry cheesecake pancakes, which were part of their pancake of the season menu and featured two buttermilk pancakes layered with cream cheese cheesecake filling and were topped with fresh blueberries, powdered sugar, and whipped cream. In launches and ratings, this dish was a top performer in draw, with 55% of consumers saying they'd visit the chain just to get this item. And now we're going to see how Dunkin' merges the flavors of cocoa with coffee for their cocoa mocha signature latte. And that's kind of a tongue twister if you try and say it too quickly. It includes rich espresso and mocha flavor topped with whipped cream, a mocha drizzle, and hot chocolate powder. It earned a volume driver rating in launches and ratings and was a top performer in both unbranded purchase intent, which means that consumers would purchase it without knowing the brand, and also in draw. And lastly, we're going to look at another superstar item that launched last year and was the Red Robin's Merry and Bright cocktail, which featured Grey Goose vodka with Granny Smith apple and brown sugar flavor, topped with red wine and served in a light up cup, which adds a next level element to the experience. In launches and ratings, this cocktail was a top performer in three categories: unbranded purchase intent, uniqueness, and draw. Technically, this item wasn't released in the winter. It was actually released in November 2023, which we kind of hinted at earlier. It's an example of how operators tend to think early with their LTOs and promotions. This item clearly ties into the winter holidays.
I love that layered look on there as well. And I miss that it's in a light up cup. That's really fun.
It is. It seems like overall a really fun item, and I would personally, if I wasn't pregnant, be drawn out to go get it.
Yeah, it's very unique. I like that.
And we're going to look at some winter holiday data now. But before we do that, I'd love for you to share in the chat and also hear from you, Renee and Claire, if there are any foods or beverages that are unique to your winter holiday celebrations.
I guess I always think of winter holidays with, I think we showcase Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year as well in the data coming up, but that's always been a special one for me because my mom will make like, I think it's 8 or 10 different dishes or 16. There's some extraordinary number of dishes that you have to have in your New Year's feast. And I always cannot, I don't know how she makes all of them, but that's always one of my favorite traditions is Chinese New Year.
I'm a sucker for downtown Chicago's Christkindl Mart. And I actually usually get the kids punch because it comes in a cuter glass. So that's a
Oh,
cute
yeah.
one. The it's like a hibiscus spiced tea situation. That's one that's special for me. Certainly. And then I've been making this like non-alcoholic hot toddy variant for many, many years, which I like to have often as a nightcap.
Ooh, I think I remember we had this conversation at the Chris Kindle Mart when like we tried to get the little kitty cup, but they wouldn't put like wine in it. We were like, we
And
want
I
wine,
missed the
but we
penguin
want
as a
it in a
result,
cute
and I'm
cup.
still upset. I should have got the kid wine.
Next time we just have to get both and just like drink both of them and
Double
get the cups,
fist.
double fist them. Yeah.
People won't know that the one is a non-alcoholic option.
Yeah, I mean you're balancing out your alcohol with your
Yeah.
non-alcoholic, so
Yeah. And we're
in the
gonna touch,
end.
maybe we'll touch on that a little later too when we get to some of the more
So
alcohol
my family
related
did
trends.
move, but we used to do poinsettias a lot, which is like mimosa where you
Oh,
use cranberry instead of orange juice. That was like a classic Christmas morning thing.
nice.
So jumping right into the data, we asked consumers what holidays they celebrate in the winter, and the vast majority celebrate Christmas across generations. But when you zoom in on holidays like New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, Gen Z is more likely than millennials and boomers to celebrate both.
Yeah, it's great we have all this data. And yeah, Chinese New Year is on there. So 7% of people are celebrating Chinese or Lunar New Year.
And it gets higher with younger generations. So I'm interested to see as Gen Alpha comes up if those stats will continue to rise. In the winter, consumers overall are most interested in getting limited edition retail items or LTOs for Christmas. But you can see that for some winter holidays, certain generations are more interested than others in getting LTOs. So, for instance, again, getting back to that Lunar New Year, Renee, Gen Z is more likely than any other generation to be interested in LTOs for Chinese New Year and Valentine's Day, while millennials are more likely than Gen Z and boomers to be interested in LTOs for the Super Bowl. And that was really interesting to me. When it comes to Lent, Gen X and boomers are more likely than Gen Z and millennials to be interested in LTOs. So that may be the key demographic to look at if you're offering Lent specials. And we're going to look at some specific stats that are related to some of these specific winter holidays. 68% of consumers who celebrate Christmas say they usually have food and beverages at home, but it's worth noting that millennials are more likely than Gen X and boomers to buy prepared food from a grocery store for Christmas.
That makes sense. And I think I had noted too with this, we split it up into having food and beverages at your own home or going to someone else's home. And so I always get surprised that it seems like the survey takers that we have are always the hostesses and making their own foods and beverages.
That was interesting to me too. We do have a lot of hosts. I never
Yeah.
host, actually.
Yeah, I
My
don't
mom's
either.
always the host. On the following slide, we see that 53% of consumers who celebrate New Year's Eve say they usually have food and beverages at home. Compared to boomers, though, millennials are more likely to go to a restaurant or bar for foods and beverages to celebrate this holiday, which made sense to me.
This is kind of high for New Year's Eve at home though, huh?
A lot of people celebrate. A lot of people I do feel like they bring out like the champagne and charcuterie, and there are some special things that are associated with it. We always go to Michigan to celebrate with some of our best friends, and it's also my husband's birthday, and so we have a huge bash every year.
Oh yeah, New Year's Eve, baby. He's got both of those holidays to celebrate. And yeah, sometimes I think I'm in that era where I do like to stay home and like you don't have to fight the crowds or the,
Yeah.
super expensive drinks and all of that. So sometimes it is nice. You can like stay in your pajamas and I don't know if I have actually stayed up till midnight in the past couple years, but maybe I will strive for that this year.
Out of all the winter holidays, Data Central surveyed consumers about Valentine's Day is the holiday consumers are most likely to go to for a restaurant or bar for food or beverages to celebrate, making this a key holiday for restaurant specials. So consider items like heart-shaped donuts or heart-shaped pizzas, red velvet flavored desserts, chocolate, and more. I came across a really interesting LTO recently, actually, from the restaurant Tao. And it was pink and white dumplings with gold leaf on the top that I shared with Renee. And I was like, this is a really interesting way of serving up a Valentine's Day special from a restaurant that may not have, I wouldn't have thought of as top of mind for a Valentine's Day special.
Yeah, I love I mean, especially as you said, like so many, date nights or like special, going out with your loved ones and whatnot for this holiday. So those heart-shaped things are very fun and kind of put that theme on it. I saw recently, we went to D'Agostino's, which is one of our favorite pizza places here in Chicago, and they had I didn't see, I wanted to see it in real life, but they had like the football-shaped pizzas too. So I know we've mentioned that in the past as being a fun shape of pizza as well. And
Among
that ties in
cons-
really well to this one.
It does. It does. Among consumers who celebrate the Super Bowl, 51% say they usually have food and beverages at home. Compared to other winter holidays and events, though, consumers are more open to having food delivered for the Super Bowl. So there may be an opportunity for operators who have delivery as an option to offer specials that align with this event. And that also wasn't super surprising to me because I do feel like for a sporting event, like the Super Bowl, I could see just having wings easily delivered or pizza sides, things of that nature. Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday are also a prime opportunity for restaurants and bars to offer LTOs, as it's second only to Valentine's Day when it comes to consumers' interest in getting foods and beverages from a restaurant or bar. Notably, Gen Z consumers are more likely than boomers to go to a restaurant for Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday. But again, that wasn't super surprising. I do feel like this is a holiday perhaps that caters more to the youth and going out.
Oh yes, Papa John's had a pumpkin shaped pizza. That's really fun, Tiffany. I know
That is fun.
one of the local mom groups here had posted one of the restaurants did a ghost shaped pizza and kids really like that as well. So I am all for the unique little fun shaped items.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have to be like super out there with the flavors. Just having like a unique shape that like ties into a holiday is good. And that's all you need. Now we're going to touch on some key winter categories that indexed higher in the winter of 2023 compared to other seasons. And it's worth noting that we cover even more categories in the full report, so make sure to check that out. And it may not be surprising, but winter is a primary season for chocolate, as it appears in a wide range of forms, from sippable hot chocolate to syrups to cakes and more. In fact, chocolate appeared in over 100 LTOs and new menu items at major chains last winter. Pictured here is Outback's Tim Tam brownie cake, which features a chocolate fender brownie, peanut butter, and chocolate mousse, topped with caramel sauce and Tim Tam cookies from Australia. 53% of consumers found this item to be unique.
I still have not tried a Tim Tam and I feel like I need
Neither
to.
have I. I also thought, I was like, I need to try this.
Right? That looks really good. I'll take that one. Delicious.
Winter is also a key season for seafood entrees, which last year made up 29 LTOs and new menu items at major chains. On this next slide, we see how O'Charlie's brought together different types of seafood for a platter style entree featuring crispy buttermilk fried shrimp, stuffed crab, and cocktail and tartar sauces. According to launches and ratings, over half of consumers would go to O'Charlie's just to get this item.
Very nice. And someone asked about chocolate being expensive and cocoa and all of that. We covered that. I don't remember the actual stats. I don't know if you do it either, Jacqueline, but we did cover that in our mid-year trends report on some of the shortages and ingredient costs. I know chocolate was one that we had asked if operators are using less of, as well as consumers if they were buying less as well.
Yeah, make sure to check out the mid-year trends report that's in Report Pro if you're a subscriber. While Dry January isn't technically a holiday, it's an entire month that some consumers dedicate to abstaining from alcohol, often in line with new health resolutions in the new year. Among consumers who observe Dry January, 19% prefer having non alcoholic options that mimic alcohol. So think things like non alcoholic wine, non alcoholic beer, mocktails, while 81% of consumers simply drink non alcoholic options like water, soft drinks, or juice when they're abstaining. This was a particularly interesting finding to me and my colleague Renee, as I'm in the same boat as the 19% who would swap the cocktail for the mocktail. Well, Renee, you had mentioned you'd rather just have water or juice, right?
Yeah, when I was pregnant, I was like, I'm just gonna have. Sometimes I had like a seltzer water, but otherwise I was just like, give me the water, give me the juice. Or not even juice really, but maybe now though, if I don't want to drink and there's definitely way more options with the non-alcoholic, it's like just kind of curiosity of drinking it, right? Because you almost want to do that comparison. Like, does it actually taste like the, alcoholic version? I think that's gonna get a lot of people on that curiosity.
Now I'm
So
going to
admits
pass.
being the 19%, which we can go
Oh,
into a
nice.
moment on the next slide.
I'm glad you're with me, Claire. I was just going to say, I'm going to pass things off to you, and you can walk us through the state of the
Yeah.
adult beverage menu.
So before we get into the state of the adult beverage menu, which we will do, and only for about 10 minutes. So if that's not terribly relevant to your brand, don't worry, we'll be done with it momentarily. But this I wanted to note, we didn't discuss it during the state of the menu because it's been a big trend for a number of years, is this like other bev category we have is something that has grown in penetration and items per menu for many years. And it's this kind of challenging category where all of these other hard to explain beverages fall, but I did want to address based on having that last slide. And I think the mimic alcohol is maybe why it was so low, like, because mocktails don't always mimic alcohol, but some do. So I feel like that's kind of in between. But for this, I looked at terms that are growing on non-alcoholic cocktail menus. And I was excited because I happen to love the Phony Negroni, but I was excited to see Amaro as the top growing, but a little bit surprised. And it's primarily from this Amaro Falso product. But I don't know if anyone else in the chat has ever had one of these or seen one of these. I love like an Aperol Spritz or something or a Negroni. And they're not as bitter, obviously, because they don't have alcohol in them, but they're pretty close. And they'll scratch that itch if you're abstaining. And then we have berry, agave, and then sparkling wine is primarily things like Oddbird is a common brand, but it's people making kind of their own Aperol Spritz and Spritz related things with non-alcoholic wine, and then a liqueur that's imitating, like an aperitif or something like that. So next slide, we'll actually get into the state of alcoholic beverages and adult bev, though I admit non-alcoholic, obviously, when we look at top growing, does show up a little bit. So we'll cover that a little bit more. Some people were wondering how much, lots of these products are actually shockingly low in sugar, especially compared to some alcohol products, but it of course varies. So adult beverage menu trends. This is very similar to what we did last month, if you were with me, where we looked at the state of the menu. So we'll be looking at items per menu as the primary measure throughout all of this and looking at about a decade-long view. And this one shows you that for the most part, the size of the adult beverage menu has been pretty steady for a whole decade or so. We're at about 30 different adult beverage alcohol items per menu that offers. And that, of course, varies by segment, right? That makes sense. There's a wide variety of differences in how segments menu adult beverages. So if we can go to the next slide. And you'll see why I chose such a wonky scale for that. It's so that you can see that like massive jump up to fine dining. Of course, fine dining is by far the largest because they have enormous wine lists and often huge bottle lists and all that good stuff. It's part of why people go to fine dining is to have that variety, and fine dining does not disappoint. It had, you can see across all of these segments, there was a dip around 2020 when everyone had to reassess all of their menus, and that made a bigger difference for adult beverage menus, but most of them have near recovered to around 2020 levels. So that's what's happening there. And then we're going to try something new. We have a new poll. It's a poll. This will be the first time we're ever doing this, so everyone stick with me while Renee gets it pulled up. We're going to do a select all poll. I think we've only ever done select one, but you can choose multiple here. If we've done select multiple, I don't remember. It's been a while. So which of the following adult beverage types are growing over the past year? It's actually past 9 months in terms of items per menu. So you can choose multiple if you want. My gosh,
And
look
can
at
you
me go.
explain
People are
while it's
understanding.
on, and while it's on here, what the adult bev, the
Oh,
other
other
adult
adult
bev is?
bev is things that are not the above things. So that's going to be cider, seltzer, hard tea, hard kombucha, all that good stuff. My gosh, look at them go.
Yeah.
We did understand. We understood the assignment. Good job, team. We've got a good number of people in, and we
Yeah.
can probably end our poll. So you all did pretty well. One, you understood to select multiple choice, and two, we got lots of them correct. The surprising answer, because I feel like we do hear a lot about maybe some challenges in the wine and beer spaces, is actually that every single one is starting to grow. If you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah, it's a little, and that's why I didn't want to do all of the above, because I feel like it would have given away the excitement. I had to think of how to make this survey for our team. So actually, all adult beverage varieties are growing in items per menu. So there, if you don't serve wine, people aren't doing the thing where they were doing for a little bit, where like new spaces were adding wine to the menu. That's not as common. But if you serve wine, or you serve cocktails, or you serve beer or other adult beverages, you are adding new varieties and new options to the menu, which I think is a little bit surprising. And it also puts into perspective when we look at the items per menu. This isn't sales, this isn't penetration, the percent of restaurants that offer, but the number of varieties. You don't need as much in that other adult bev space. Like you can have, 48 wines on a wine menu. Or 15 different beer taps or bottle options. But for other adult bev, it tends to be that they don't call out the different flavors on the menu. So I might offer a hard seltzer brand, but I'm not going to tell you the 6 seltzers that I have of their flavor profile. But I will tell you, oh, we have a seltzer, we have a cider, and we have a hard soda or whatever it is. So that's where that 3 tends to come from. And now we're going to get into what's growing in those spaces, because obviously that's what we want to know. So I did look at, for each of these categories, what's growing within that type. So we have wine. We see the zero proof as a call out. It didn't even exist in the wine space 4 years ago on menus, but it's the fastest growing by 12-month growth. Still really tiny, under 1% of wine menus have it. Non-alcoholic wine also growing. Macabeo is growing, which is a white grape from Spain, often used in cava. So that's one that's being called out separately and is often also used for those orange wine applications. So there's some playing together here. And then we have the Italian red grape Rondinella. I think I said that right. That's also showing some growth over the past 12 months.
Very
Next.
interesting. And I love that bottle there of
Isn't it pretty?
the
It's
orange
hard to
one.
find a nice picture of like just like a glass of wine, but this bottle with the orange wine, I thought it was pretty. Cocktails, another one, of course, mocktail growing, also, of course, zero proof. Ube is growing, which I think is fun. I didn't choose an ube picture. There's a question. It's 12-month pass numbers and 4-year pass. So both of these, all of this is in past. We do have forecasting, but I didn't include that in this particular report. So ube is growing both over the past 12 months and the past 4 years. Sotol is growing as well. And then Calabrian, which I thought was kind of fun. You see all those spicy cocktails. It's a little bit of a different, I feel like I personally tend to think more of like Mexican flavor profiles for that type of heat. But there's also like these kind of like whiskey sour or old fashioned types happening at Italian restaurants where they use a different, like this one has, they put the picture here because it has actually hot honey as well as kind of that chili pepper, which I think kind of builds a nice beverage.
Yeah, that is really surprising to have that
Really
on there.
good. I think that would make a tasty beverage.
Yeah, that looks really good. It's a great picture too.
And then we've got beer. It's also hard to find a good, sometimes a good beer picture of these particular ones. This is a brewery that was partnering with one of those like painting places where they did like this whole fall scene and then highlighted a strawberry rhubarb sour, which I thought was sort of interesting, particularly that it's growing over this Q3 versus Q3 because I associate strawberry rhubarb more with spring, but I guess it's becoming a popular enough flavor that that rhubarb is actually showing up in beers outside of the season. And then we see a lot of fruit. So there's like fruit punchy things happening, yuzu happening, and then margarita. So like kind of that salty profile beer mixing with your Mexican lagers into like a margarita space. And then we see Russian Imperial Stout, which is that like end of Q3 approaching fall, like a really big beer for the fall season. And last but certainly not least is what's happening in our other adult bev space. Again, you saw throughout all of this that those like fruity flavors are definitely appealing. So we see kiwi growing. I think it makes a lot of sense that cranberry's growing. I liked this one because it made sense with the winter trends with cranberry growing in other adult beverage. This is a cranberry orange ginger hard seltzer, which I could really see being a profile that would work in non-alcoholic beverage varieties as well as in like the hard seltzer space. It's just a good combo for winter trends. And then long drink, the variety is growing tequila. That's primarily tequila used in hard seltzer, a particular brand, in fact. And bourbon tends to be bourbon barrel aged cider in this particular call out. So there's lots of interesting innovation happening in the adult beverage space. And we just wanted to take a quick little moment to highlight it. And now Renee is going to take it away with looking at a segment that often has adult beverages as a key component.
Yes, that is a good lead in. Thank you, Claire. So yes, we are going to look at some stadium and amusement park food. So typically we've done some of this coverage in the summer because you think of fairs and amusement parks and going out to baseball games and all of that. But then I remembered that there is also something called football that happens during this season. So this is also a good call out. And I'm going to just talk through some of the things that we're seeing in this space, as well as give you a preview on an upcoming Stadium Foods publication. So first, I thought this was a really good one to include in the Winter Trends webinar. So I saw these new winter items at Disneyland. So just kind of a smattering of things here and wanted to highlight a few of them in particular. So that croissant there is a crispy chocolate dipped croissant, and it has that chocolate dip on the top, and then it has the crispy corn flakes, which I think is that great nostalgic nod, and then it has Bavarian cream inside. So kind of, we've been seeing a lot with croissants lately. I've been reporting on, the flat croissants, dipped croissants, rice paper croissants, so many croissants. And so that one I thought was really fun. As we talked about, different shaped items for different holidays. So we've got the pull apart bread there in the bottom corner in the shape of a tree, which is really fun. Cake pops, you can do so much different themes for different seasons and holidays. So we've got this little snowman that I love, the little squinty eyes and the little smile there, little earmuffs, very, very cute and on theme for winter. And then another nostalgic and kind of fun twist on cold brew is that drink there that is a milk and cookies cold brew. So kind of that nod to Santa and leaving out those milk and cookies, which I never did as a kid. Have you guys done that? Did you guys do that as a kid? I don't know. I feel like, do kids still do that? Do your kids do that, Claire?
They definitely do, and they get
They
like
do.
very hyped about what to put out.
Yeah. And then do you have to like, because I never had this as
We
a kid.
even put out carrots for the reindeer, so I have to like go and like chomp them overnight.
Yeah, do you have to
The whole mood.
do kind of like the like make it seem like Santa has eaten it and stuff like that? Oh man, that's dedication. I'm like scared of like even like Tooth Fairy and when I'll have to finagle that. But that's an interesting one. It has cookie butter cold brew with cereal milk and chocolate cookie foam. So
Ooh,
a
So
nice
cookie
little
butter
Santa
is
and
one of
our
my
house would
favorite
really like that
flavors.
beverage.
Oh, that was a popular one. You both were like,
Cookie butter is one of my favorite flavors. It's one of the go-tos that I have for coffee.
Yeah, that looks delicious and is a really fun kind of riff again that milk and cookies for Santa. And then, as I mentioned, I'll be working on this creative concepts that looks at stadium foods. So stay tuned on that. Some kind of preview stats on that. So 48% of consumers have visited a stadium or arena in the past year. That I'm definitely not part of that. I don't think I've probably gone to like one or two pro games like ever, and I still haven't been to like a football game at all. So I think I am probably missing out on all the tailgating and fun that comes with that. But we found that just about half of consumers have been to a stadium recently. And then we're kind of interested in seeing, what are people purchasing when they go there? So 80%, the highest percentage, is people saying they have a hot snack. So maybe those nachos, a little kind of something to, hold you over if you haven't had a meal or a hot meal, as well as alcoholic beverage. As Claire mentioned, this is a big part of sports and the sporting world. Cheez-Its, have to shout out Cheez-Its, one of my son's favorite things that he will eat for ever, and probably only eat Cheez-Its if he could. He has recently discovered the Cheez-It Puffies, puffy kind, which he always asks for, not the regular Cheez-Its, poofy Cheez-Its. So I have to now get all these different types of Cheez-Its. But I thought this was fun. This is a Cheese Wheels food truck that they have had at different tailgating events at college stadiums. So they have, a Cheez-It, all the different Cheez-It products that they have on there. And then they've also offered Cheez-It menu items like a Cheez-It chili crunch dog at some Cheez-It bowl games as well. So this one in particular I thought was really interesting. It is called a Penn Steak Cheez-It or cheeseburger. So it has Cheez-It cracker infused smash burger, as well as bell peppers, grilled onions, and then also putting more Cheez-It into it with a Cheez-It cracker infused nacho cheese sauce. And then you see the little cheese that's on top there too, which is really fun. So kind of a unique way to, bring some of the snack foods into more of a full meal item. And then some of the items that we tested, this looks really good and delicious. This is a campfire milkshake from the White Sox here in Chicago. So we tested that with consumers, saw that 43% of people want to try that. Again, on the nostalgic kind of s'mores take. And then Jacqueline found this one in our launches and ratings. There are a few tailgating different items on there. So this is a tailgater taco, and it's piled on with all of that stuff that you see there. Poblano ranch slaw, blue cheese crumbles. Looks a little messy to eat, but it scored a 68 in our composite score on launches and ratings from Torchy's Tacos there. That was an LTO. And then two other things, another tailgate specific menu item here, as we talked about, like the football shaped pizzas, ghosts, and all of that. I like that this little turnover from Arby's just has, that added icing there to make it seem like a little football. You can even play, like, what's that, like paper football, or when people do the little folded triangle, and it almost looks like that, and you could like fling that over somebody's hands or something, play with that little football there. And then I wanted to call out, I saw this, it looks like a lightsaber to me, which I love because, well, my son's name is Luke or Lucas, and this is a corn dog, foot-long corn dog from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis that they had. So it is coated in honey and rolled in blue taki crumbs. So kind of looks like a little, I don't know. If I went and had that, I would have like a little lightsaber.
I like the color coding. That's on we have a stadium food menu adoption cycle that I created, and there is a growing theme to like carriers or like coatings in the appropriate colors of the team. So like this is definitely a gaining trend.
Yeah, I think it's the Indianapolis. I'm so bad with sports, guys. I'm really sorry. I think it's like the Colts, right? And you see the blue in the background there.
You can
So
see
okay.
their little horseshoe in the background. It's definitely
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you can see it says Indianapolis as well.
Yeah, Colts. Yeah. So that's a fun item whenever you can do some kind of nod to the team there. And then just some news and cool stuff to kind of wrap things up. I love this little bunny with my little pink glasses here. And so just a few items that I've been seeing on social media and around some of the news items that you might have missed. Wanted to do a little short report on that. So have you guys seen the sealed burgers? And people in chat can respond as well as you and Claire and Jacqueline.
No, I haven't seen these before, but it looks like a really interesting concept, especially if like you're on a date or something and you don't want to get like all the goop all over your fingers.
Yes, exactly. Claire, had you seen this
I had
before?
not, but I admit when you showed this, I thought of they like, if it's in the frozen case, they have like the pita burgers that kids like. That's what it reminded me of. This looks more to
Oh,
my
yeah.
preferences, but I don't know if I think my kids would stick to the pita one.
Yeah, yeah. Exact. A lot of people in chat saying like uncrust a burger. Oh, I like that, Jasmine. It definitely reminds me of a burger uncrustable, right? So it's like you just kind of seal the edges there. This is from Spinning Buns in Austin, Texas. They were going viral on social media for this. Very nice way to kind of keep all of those toppings inside, right? The other day I had this burger that was massive and it had like of course, for me, all the different meats. So it had bacon, it had the burger, it had onion straws, it had, this and that and everything. And I'm like, maybe sometimes part of the experience is eating it and getting everything all over you as part of that gigantic burger eating experience. But this is a nice one because it just puts a little twist on the burger. But as Jacqueline, you mentioned, it keeps everything inside. They even have like Nutella filled ones for dessert. Almost reminds me a little bit of a like empanada burger crossover, as we kind of talk still a lot about mashups. And then this one is a childhood favorite that has been used in a new, unique way. Does anyone in the audience here, has anyone heard of Papago? Or this is it's very specific and niche, but it is a Chinese like herbal cough syrup that we just had a lot as a kid, and it really helps like soothe those sore throats. And I thought it was really interesting. I saw this boba tea chain in Singapore is actually putting the Papago in bubble tea. So it's like, an herbal medicine. So some people are like, oh my gosh, don't put the medicine in something like
I love
boba.
this idea though.
Um,
It makes so much
right?
sense though. When you think of like all the licorice, we already saw Amaro early, like all of those like kind of bolder medicinal flavors are
Yeah,
trending. So, like why not? And why not around the holiday season when everyone would love a bubble tea and has a scratchy throat? Like
exactly.
best
And
of
you can
all the worlds.
yeah, and I don't know, it's pretty small on the screen there, but you can see like they, talked about the herbal remedy and how, it's going to help during the fall and winter cold season and kind of help soothe your throat. Somebody asked, what does it taste like? It's very kind of like strong honey taste, but like medicinal honey, with kind of that licorice minty
Have you ever
feel.
had like a
Um,
Ricola cough drop? That's what I imagine it tastes like. And I would be very into that flavor in a coffee.
Yeah, and I mean it plays off I'm not a huge fan of like mint in sweet applications. I know Claire, you love it. So this definitely sounds like it would be up your alley and for other folks too who like that minty flavor because it like cools your throat, So and then yes, also I saw that they had pet friendly bubble tea. So I thought that
That's
was an
so fun. I
interesting
love
thing
when
too.
there's something for the pets too.
Right? Yeah, that one, I mean, it has a dog on there, but I'm sure that your cat could have it too, Jacqueline, if you wanted them to.
So is this like non-caffeinated? Like what makes it? Because
I know I'm trying to look. It says
our
all
local bubble tea
natural.
place, I was pleased to see is now offering like completely non-caffeine because bubble tea is always like the base is caffeine, which so
Mhm.
now they have like milk, like not milk tea and not fruit tea, just like milk boba for the kids, which maybe it's similar for the pets.
Yeah, I think the small print there that I'm like trying to see is all natural ingredients and pure coconut water. So I think it's just like coconut water. And I don't know how they're supposed to drink it if it's like an actual bubble tea without the straw. But it's a cute concept nonetheless. And like you said, I have been seeing more items that are like no caffeine, no sugar for kids, and having them still do. And they even have like little baby sizes for kids too for bubble tea. So I like that for sure. And then something from our social media sensations reports. If you are not familiar with this report, we started covering some social media trends this year. So this report is awesome. I love seeing what's out there on social media and testing it with consumers so that we see, are these things that are just, viral social media moments, one and done, or are people kind of interested in some of these items for, longevity? And so this one is, I'm sure you've seen all of the Buldak ramen on TikTok and Instagram. It's that cheesy carbonara ramen. So it has like, the Italian influence with a ramen. And then also has spice in it, creamy cheese. And they recently came up with these Buldak carbonara dumplings. I think, Jacqueline, you saw this. And I thought that was really interesting. They actually have like the ramen with the sauce and everything in that dumpling. So just a cool kind of, innovation that has stemmed from some of the viral moments that it's had. And then the Shirley Temple 7 Up. You guys have probably seen this as well, but it's one of those products that I think makes so much sense, right? We continue to talk about nostalgia. I think it's going to be around for, a long time, that everyone's kind of playing up these childhood nostalgic memories and flavors. So we have 7 Up that did these Shirley Temple drinks. And so it has the, obviously the 7 Up flavor, lemon and lime, but then it also has pomegranate and cherry in there too to kind of mimic that Shirley Temple that we grew up with, sipping at weddings when we weren't allowed to have what I call for my son the adult juice, because a lot of times he sees our beverages and is like, is that juice? And I'm like, well, it's adult juice, son, and you need to wait a few years to have
I am
that.
I'm
He's only
curious if
3.5.
anyone in the chat has had, I have not had this product, but Canada Dry in March introduced like Fruit Splash, which I think is very Shirley Temple similar. And I have that in my fridge. I'm curious if anyone has had both and has opinions on that. I know, do you remember the Shirley Temple King? Does everyone remember him? He's like still around on social media, and I saw he reviewed this one too. And
Oh, really?
he's
Okay.
team ginger ale in the Shirley Temple. So
Hmm.
it was an interesting thing that popped up, like a throwback to a old influencer, if you will.
Gotcha. Yeah, a couple of people here are saying that the product is great and training cocktails for kids. Oh man. And then this is a piece of news that has kind of made a lot of headlines. If you guys have seen this, uh, Smoothie King is the first QSR to come out with a Ozempic, Wegovy, GLP-1 menu. So, specifically kind of catering to people who have been on these weight loss drugs, to kind of, who, of course, all of us in the industry are kind of like, curbed appetites. What does that mean for us, right? And so this was developed with a nutritionist and kind of looking at I guess a lot of people who take it have experienced, some muscle loss and not having as much protein, fiber, veggies, that sort of thing, just with an overall decreased appetite. So they have 5 different smoothies under this line that have 20 grams of protein, has your fiber intake, and all of that. And then last little piece of news as well. I know, Jacqueline, you were probably celebrating this because I got you. I remember you do oat milk, but Starbucks recently announced that they are no longer upcharging for those non-dairy milks. So
Yay!
for all of those who want some, oat milk or almond milk or whatnot, they are no longer charging for this. And I think it kind of just shows, a lot of these alternatives are really moving past the alternative stage, right? It's becoming a lot more mainstream, not even really an alternative anymore, or at least kind of moving that way. And then wanted to do a quick summary slide as we wrap up here. So, some of the key findings, if you will. To summarize, stole this from Hui on our team, who did this the last webinar and has this nifty little wrap-up slide here. So, and I like my little Santa Claus clementines that I found was
It's so
very,
cute.
yeah, there's so many different like, one of my friends actually for Halloween, her kid, they had to like bring in like homemade healthy treats for her kid's school. And she was like, what am I supposed to make? And of course, I found like you just unwrap a clementine or, peel it and then put like a little celery stick in it. So I guess there's lots of little things that you could do. Maybe you could make a little Santa hat for clementines like this one. But so everything from, as we talked about with LTOs, kind of that balance that Jacqueline talked about with indulgence for some of the winter holidays as well as Valentine's Day, but also knowing that there's going to be some, health stuff as well as Lent during the kind of beginning of the year. Chocolate and seafood that she talked about, and then also, dry January, as well as those adult beverages. I think, how many of you guys were surprised that all of those categories in that poll were actually increasing? I feel like, yeah, there was one or two people surprised about that. And I think that's good, right? Because as you said, Claire, sometimes we hear some of the news that, X, Y, and Z are declining, but no, they're actually all increasing on that. And then also making sure to consider things like stadiums for some inspiration as well as for the holiday season. And then just want to look forward to 2025 trends. So got a big bow on this and we will be delivering this soon. Hopefully, I know everyone is very excited and anticipating our yearly annual trends that always come out around this time of year. I remember that a few webinars ago, we gave you some hints and a preview of what you will see as some of those top flavors and some of the themes that we will be covering. But coming soon, before the holidays, you will be able to unwrap this giant present of our 2025 trends. So Jacqueline and I and the rest of the team are working hard on these. So we want to make sure you are stay tuned for those. Jacqueline, I love that picture that you found there with the crystal ball.
It just is so well suited to what we're going to be covering. It's always like we joke about like our crystal ball into the future as we look at not just like the foods and flavors for 2025, but also things to consider for the future and farther out. And those are some of my favorites. Those are always really interesting finds. And then I also love just like the colors, of course. Like this is really a blend of all of our favorite colors. We've got purple,
Yeah.
we've got pink, we've got blue. So I'm really excited to share this report with you all in the near future.
And then just two wrap up slides here. Reminder that our next webinar will be our year-end review. I'm still like in denial that that this is happening, that it's going to be 2025. I mentioned the other day that I feel like 2025 doesn't, maybe now that I'm saying it more, it does, but it's kind of harder to say than 2024. Like it just doesn't roll off the tongue as well. So I have to practice saying 2025 trends. But so our Simply Smarter year-end review is our next one. And I love this little dapper doggy with his bow tie there that we will be talking and wrapping up the year with that webinar. And then lastly, make sure if you have any questions, reach out at hello@datacentral.com, connect with us on LinkedIn. I think the three of us are all on LinkedIn and always happy to talk with you all and kind of continue the conversation. Even though I always love the webinar chats and talking that way, we can also email and do more one-on-one talking as well. So thank you all.